Hey everybody, welcome back to another review with me. I am your host Maxine, and we are reviewing season 19, episodes 5, 6, and 7 of Married at First Sight. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Married at First Sight is doing its thing. I'm really impressed with how it's flowing and going. Peacock has definitely revamped the show for the better. I'm hearing some talk on the internet webs that it's not as entertaining. I feel like at this point, it doesn't have to be this long-winded show, right? It doesn't have to be this, oh, what are we going to eat for lunch? And then a whole 30-minute scene for that. This show is getting to the point, is cutting out the fat, and I'm enjoying it. So cut it out. Let's get into it. So episode 5 is titled Trouble in Paradise. We get Derek and Meg in a car, and it's uncomfortable because Meg is uncomfortable. Meg is someone who is insufferable. I can't imagine even being friends with her, let alone a romantic relationship. We jump into Brittany and Will. Brittany is feeling like there is no romance or fun. She still has a frown. Mind you, we're still in Panama. It's not fun in Panama? At this point, Brittany, you're the problem. It's not fun in Panama. It's not romantic in Panama. You have to make things what they are. And the fact that you are in this beautiful setting and you're having a horrible time, it says a lot about you. Will asks, is that something that usually happens? Why did I write that down? I forget. Anyway, Will, he breaks the ice, he hugs and kisses her, and he's trying. You can see his efforts are being made here. And finally, Brittany succumbs. Derek and Meg, they talk and reach an understanding. Meg is an avoider. She is someone who shuts down. And when the topic of children comes up, because this is an overriding theme when it comes to this couple, when the topic of children comes up, you see how much she squirms. You see how much she is cringing, and she is clearly uncomfortable. Just very clear. Yet she's lying to us and to Derek, saying, of course I want kids. I'm just scared of birth. I'm just scared of giving birth. Girl, well, that's not the attitude I need you to have. No one who is wanting kids, right, they don't even think about the painful experience of giving birth. They just think about the fact that they get to raise this little baby into a grown-up, right? She's making these just silly reasons. I get it. Physical pain is not appealing, but that is a blimp in the moment of this whole experience of becoming a parent. So you talking about, I'm just afraid of giving birth, as if she has been through so much physical pain in her life and she just can't bear a paper cut. Girl, relax. We see Pat and Rhonda and Will and Britt go on this couple bike ride, which is a pretty cute setup. I didn't realize with those types of bikes, they, like, the person in the back, they're not really riding. They don't really have power. They're just like there. Yes, they have a place where they put their feet, so there is a pedal for them, but apparently their pedals don't actually move the bike. It's really the one who is up front. Pat reveals that he has been in a relationship just 6 months ago. So he's only been single for 6 months, and that relationship lasted for 3 years. Now, Rhonda, when she learned of this information, she immediately had a stank face, according to what she's saying to Brittany about this, and she was disturbed. And whatever she said to Pat about it, Pat felt judged. Pat felt just misunderstood. And we didn't see this scene. We're just hearing them talk about it after the fact. But Pat is telling Will how he just felt judged, or I think he said it to us in the confessional. Nonetheless, Rhonda has a habit of dishing it, but not being able to take it. Meaning she's quick to give Pat all of this critique of his personal development and how he needs to work on this and he needs to work on that, and how she's so happy to be matched up with a man who is open to such feedback, open to such criticism. Girl, that's why you love me? Because I'm open to your critique, your incessant critique? Rhonda says verbatim, he's so fucking sensitive and insecure. Now, if my spouse describes me as that, it's a divorce. Hello? Especially in this process, 8 weeks can't come soon enough. It's a divorce. Sasha Tay Diggs. If you know that reference, let me know in the comments. But nonetheless, I think she is so rude. And she has a tendency of not seeing how she comes off. So anyways, she's describing Pat to Brittany as this fucking sensitive and insecure man. And it's just so rude, right? On one end, you want your man to be open and honest about his feelings. And why don't you feel more? Why don't you cry more? And when he does express any inkling of those feelings, oh, you're fucking sensitive? Oh, you're fucking insecure? No, you're a fucking bitch. Let's move on. The catamaran ride is taking place. Josh is telling everyone that he is falling in love with his girl. They seem to be doing well at this point. We'll see, because again, there is a future episode coming up of Jalen rolling her eyes at him. And he's like, I'm not the one or the two. So we'll see how this goes. But nonetheless, Will is actually being complimentary towards Brit in public, really making her feel seen. And I think that definitely goes a long way for her. He's complimenting how gorgeous she is and how gorgeous she looks even in the morning. And that says a lot. The thing with Will, though, I feel like Will is definitely on the spectrum and he may or may not be aware of that. So that says a lot, right? If you're unaware of you being on the spectrum, you're unaware of how you may come off to other people and how you're perceived. Now, I think sometimes we shouldn't always care about how others perceive us, but I think at the very least you should, right? But for the most part, you should give a damn. Britt and Will, they go on this happy hike trail. It seems to be going well. They kiss at the top, and it felt like Will was trying to give us a scene on this Prince Charming, because Britt says, I always wanted to kiss at the top of a castle, and then he kisses her, which was a cute moment. But I say that because I think Will, again, I think he's on the spectrum, but I feel like he lacks the genuineness that you would need in a relationship. I think he's just doing things to be performative, and we're filming a scene, right? So let me make this scene what it needs to be made of. We get to Pat and Rhonda. They do this bartending activity. Rhonda walks into a branch. And I wrote that down for a reason. I wrote that down because Rhonda is self-unaware, right? She's just unaware. If there's one word to describe her, she's unaware. And her lack of awareness speaks to everything, right? It speaks to her not reading the room when it comes to her romantic relationships. It speaks to her not reading the room when it comes to her surroundings, right? How are you walking into a branch? She discusses again his relationship history. So she brings this up and tells him how she wanted to clarify that she wasn't judging him. She just had this glassed over expression because she was just processing. And when Pat responds and tells her honestly, her response still was hurtful for him. It was hurtful because she came off judgmental. And immediately, as soon as he says that, she's defensive. She said, it was about me. It wasn't about you. Girl, are you okay? I had to process. What? But who are you talking to? Let's cut the cameras. Who the fuck are you talking to, Rhonda? I'm about to process you. Who are you talking to? Then she goes on to say she feels smothered. Bitch, you're smothering. I said one word to describe her. I know I said unaware. It's smothering too. So let's give it to 2 words. She's talking about, she's been on her own for such a long time. But you sign up for this process. And sure, there are relationships now. There's more conversations happening in this day and age of marriages between people who are no longer living in the same house together. That seems to be more of a up and coming normalization between married couples. So maybe they could be one of those couples. That's fine. But I don't know if Pat is one of those people who would be okay with that. That's more of a Rhonda thing. Rhonda tells us he hasn't been in a relationship for so long. She's been on her own for a long time. And what does that tell us? It tells us that she's been driving, what's the phrase? Riding to the beat of her own drum. She accuses him of being insecure. And I hate, just like I said earlier, I hate when women do that. I hate when women first request and plead for their man to be more sensitive, more caring, and to lead with their heart and be emotional. Yet when they show you true emotion, oh, you insecure. Oh, you a bitch ass nigga. She might as well have called me the bitch. No, but seriously, you're weaponizing insecurity, and I hate that. Jalen doesn't want to get her hair wet. And I wrote that down for a reason because Jalen, girl, you're in Panama. So constantly throughout this honeymoon, we see Josh always convincing Jalen to do something fun. Get out of your comfort zone. We're not just sitting here looking pretty. We're not just sitting here posing for cameras or whatever. Let's enjoy this amazing trip that we are given for this experiment that we signed up for. Jalen talks about how she grew up privileged, and that really does explain a lot of how she comes off. And we know, of course, that Josh did not grow up that way, but he had love from his grandparents who essentially raised him because his parents weren't able to do so. Belinda and Chad, they seem to be affectionate and getting along pretty well. Chad doesn't want romance to be mundane. He wants to include activities, so he's very activity oriented, and I like that. I like a man who plans things out and doesn't want to get bored in relationships. Yet with Belinda, she feels like, well, romance is not about, let's go to an archery date, like, get me flowers. I feel like Belinda's way of romance is out. Girl, wake it up. I don't want flowers on a Tuesday again. Wake it up. I want my man to take me out to Bora. I want us to go out to eat and check out a new restaurant every other week. Cool, you bring me flowers every week. Cool, but where are we going? I want to go outside. So, anyway, let's get into the next part here. What else? Chad is centering himself when describing his feelings. I wrote that down. So they're seated, right? They're at this table, just Belinda and Chad. They're having their date. And Belinda gives very descriptive detail as to why she likes Chad. And she frames it in a way of, these are the traits I like about you. Oftentimes when people say, oh, I like you because it's because you make me feel happy. You make me feel seen. You listen to me. You're always there for me. And it's like, cool, but can you keep it about me though? What do you like about me? Not what do you like about me in proximity to you, in relation to you. So I thought that was interesting. But anyway, Chad, he was describing his feelings about Belinda by centering himself. And I think that may be a generational thing. He's 54, right? He's an older man. He's bald. That's another factor, right? These bald-headed niggas don't know how to express themselves. No, but I think that's something there too. And I don't want to say that he doesn't have genuine feelings for her. I think he does like her. I think he does find her attractive. I think he is happy with his match. I just think he needs help with his vocabulary. But I feel like this is such an authentic scene because we see here as he was struggling, the producer breaks the fourth wall and she says, or at least it's edited that way, right? So because they could have edited that out. They did, but nonetheless, she asks him and breaks the scene and says, what specifically do you like about Belinda? He's like, oh, I'm getting to it. And he gets a little curt with this producer. And look, I could see how that could be a little bit jarring if I was Belinda. But at the same time, let this nigga get to it. Let him get to it. I don't want my man being coerced or coached to know how to express his feelings towards me. No, let's sit here in silence until you figure this shit out. Pick your words. So I would have waited. That's fine. I would have waited, sip my martini and be like, okay, I'm waiting for you to tell me 3 facts about me that you like so much. You pick out the words. Anyway, Chad gets snappy to the producer. And then we see a next scene of them in bed and they're talking about it. And Belinda gets emotional, and she gets emotional because I think this harkens back to her past marriage, in which he may not have been the nicest at times, whether to her or other people, and eventually led to her. But I think there is some fear of seeing that experience happen again. So Chad, and that's the thing I like about Chad. I'm rooting for Chad. I am. And again, I don't want to hear, this is his 4th marriage. No, Chad deserves love. I don't care if it's his 5th marriage. Try again. If at first you don't succeed, you try again. Some people be like, well, I'm too old to fall in love again. I'm too old to get married. No, what the fuck are we talking about? You are able, embodied, and desiring. You deserve to have this need met. And I'm happy that he still wakes up for himself and decided to be a part of this process. And what I like about Chad here, he is very apologetic, and he tells her, I'm sorry. And he meant that shit. So that was cute. I like that he said that. Whatever. I said Belinda needs to sleep on it. Oh, so she's talking about how she needs to sleep on it, and she cries herself to sleep. And she's afraid that if she were to open up to him as far as share her opinions about something and share her stance, that he eventually will resent her. And that definitely speaks to, again, her past marriage. She may have been in marriages, in her last marriage, and she talks about how he cheated on her. But aside from that, I felt like he also wasn't as connected to her and respectful towards her. And eventually that led to her feeling shamed or being resented for having feelings, etc. So I can understand how that may be traumatic or just concerning or whatnot, but girl, we gotta move on. So Britt is feeling crappy again. Will still doesn't want to be, he's still not trying to smash. He's still not trying to get between those legs. At least eat me out. Hello? At least eat me out. Shit, I don't know. That could be a compromise. I can understand how that can make someone feel unwanted. But at the same time, though, if we want to grow and develop and have a deeper connection with someone, sometimes immediately jumping into sexual intercourse isn't the best choice. Sometimes it isn't. And if we want to get to the religiosity of it all, that could be a Jezebel spirit. It could. And I say that because there are women out here and men, but Jezebel is a name for women. Is women feeling like their worth and their acceptance is based on their sexual desire and how much a man desires them sexually. So when a man is fulfilling that or seeing that in you and wanting to quench their lustful thirst, then you feel this sense of power or relief knowing that he's into me, right? Now, it's a fallacy because you could still build intimacy without sexual intimacy. And for so long, women have been trained otherwise, I think. But anyway, I get that because even at times when the man would be like, I'm about to give a specific example, but maybe not. But I think the point is there is beauty in waiting. Just wait a little bit. We got the rest of our lives, right? If we're planning to be married. But who cares? Anyway, she's waiting. Oh, that's what I wrote down. Britt just feels rejected and she views sex as an act of affirmation. Absolutely. So, but if we spin it around and if the woman says, hey, I just want to wait until we have sex, the man is expected to adhere to that. But because men are conditioned or told to be this lustful characters and figure, hey, what do you mean you want to slow down? So I can see how it's jarring. I do. I get it, Brittany. I do. But I think that could be something for her to work on and adjust her thinking around. Because again, if he's not sexually intimate with you, it shouldn't mean that he isn't into you. And she may have felt that way because many of her past situationships or whatnot made her feel that way. So we get to Rhonda. Rhonda feels nervous to live with Pat. He hasn't lived with someone in 5 years. And she ones up him and she says, well, I haven't lived with someone in 20 years. Girl, here's a cookie. She emphasizes doing things separately. So we wrap up with that episode. Let's jump into episode 6. Home. That is the title of this episode. And we see them finally leave Panama and go back to Austin, Texas. Rhonda is feeling anxious about living together. Britt wants to feel like Panama never happened. She felt unwanted in past relationships and insecurities from those experiences are resurfacing. Chad is a minimalist. Belinda feels like she is used to not having anyone around, and she judges people by how they treat her dogs. And she also allows dogs to sleep on her bed. No, we have to move on from this world of dogs on the bed. Can dogs be dogs? We are conditioning our dogs to be human babies, and it's not okay. It's actually sickening. It's actually bestiality. I'm actually calling the cops. I'm going to put the Bible in your face and tell you this is not okay. What are we doing? Why is your dog on the bed? And what do you mean the dog's on the bed when we about to have some pound town? If this dog don't get the fuck out of my face, what are we talking about? I understand you love your animals, but this is not okay. Your dog is not your human friend. Get that together. Derek is someone who really believes in toxic-free products, which I think is pretty great. I was with a guy who really is about clean living, being mindful of what you put in your body, and it opened my mind to this new world because for so long I've been conditioned and accustomed to toxins in my food, and it has impacted my body so negatively. So I think Derek being this toxic-free product type of guy, I think that's great for Meg to appreciate and have an open mind about. But we see later on in this episode that she just smashes this in his face. Jalen brings Josh to her psycho class, in which she is the instructor. This is apparently a passion of hers, which is pretty cool, which is a great body. And I see how this psycho class is definitely helping with that. Britt is proud. Let's talk about this scene. Britt invites Will to her house. Well, not invites. Obviously, this is a part of the whole episode. So everyone is seeing each other's homes. And Britt is a proud homeowner. And I think that's definitely something to be proud of for sure. She's 29 years old, so that's pretty young to already own your own house. But I think that is so amazing that she accomplished such a great goal. Will, being the even keel autistic nigga that he is, let's bring it there, he doesn't really show much enthusiasm. Sorry, I'm at work. The wrong bell is ringing. But he doesn't really show much enthusiasm. He's very even keel. And it's one thing to have a man who's calm and centered while you're the vibrant and vivacious one. And you need a man who could help center you. I love that. But I need you to show me some enthusiasm, though. I need you to walk in here and be like, wow, this is awesome. This looks great. Good for you. What made you show some inquiry? Make me feel like you really are proud. I want new niggas to be like, I'm proud of you and you just met me. Yes. Whenever I mention that I'm in my doctoral program and a man says, I'm proud of you, you better say that. You just met me, but you better be proud of me. Anyway, Will is the first man to enter her home. Girl, so what are we talking about? So the 3 months you were in a relationship with whoever you was with, you only went to his house? You never invited him to your home? I don't know. Maybe I'm too open. I don't invite anyone over to my home except whoever I'm seeing. But that's the point, whoever I'm seeing. But that's good for her. She has so many clothes and she's packing all these clothes. Will says a comment, as his awkward self would, and he says, you know, bring all those clothes. And she immediately starts to cry. But she's crying to us in the confessional moment. But Will is noticing a shift in her attitude. But he's waiting for her to actually say something because she doesn't really outwardly express herself initially. Instead, she'll give you the cold shoulder. He was trying to help her pack. Has he started to do so? But I guess after one too many awkward things that he said, she eventually said, oh, I got it. I'm good. I got it. And independence, right? There's that independence in women, Black women especially, that really bites us in the butt. You have this man helping you pack. Let this nigga help you. Not even a nigga. Let this husband of yours, let him help you out. She's talking about, I'll do it. If that's not a Black women's motto, I'll do it. But he just feels like she wants him to compliment her success. And I'm hearing some critique around this. What do you want him to do? Jump for joy? This is an adult thing you do. People buy houses. It's not a big deal. I can see how so many houses, obviously people who live in there are homeowners. You should not have to be applauded for paying your rent or paying your mortgage. But I think if I'm happy about something, I want you to be happy about it too, right? If I'm proud about something, I want you to show some level of pride towards me too, in a good way. Rhonda again voices her concerns about cohabitating. Girl, we get it. You don't want to live with this man or any man, if that. We jump into Derek and Meg. Derek didn't like Zoe Gate. Let's call this the Zoe Gate between them. Zoe is Meg's Shih Tzu. Shitty zoo. Let's say that. Shitty zoo. But it's a cute little pup that she has who looks like a skunk because it's white and black. And she ordered Derek to go take him out her is a girl, go take her out for a walk. And Derek felt like, wait, what? This ain't my dog. Go take who out, bitch? This ain't my dog. And Meg felt some type of way about it. Also, Zoe sleeps on their bed, which again, what do we do? Get the dog a crate and lock him inside. So like when I put my dog Theo, when it's time for us to go to sleep, he goes in his crate. I don't close the door anymore, but the crate is in my room and he knows to go in his crate and he sleeps in his crate, this comfy, cozy little crate. And that's it. This nigga he's not in my bed. What are we doing? Derek felt like, this ain't my dog. Why are you asking me to walk your dog? And you're asking me to do it solo. Now, look, Derek hasn't dated a man. No, Derek hasn't dated anyone who had an animal before. So this is his first time experiencing this. And maybe this is normal in relationships that has a dog involved. But I think his point still stands because it's not necessarily about the dog, right? It's about the fact that you just expected me to take on the responsibilities that you've been doing before me without asking me if I'm available or if I can, or hey, do you mind taking her out for a walk? I'm running late from, I don't know. The way apparently she vocalized this to him made him appear as this peasant. Take my dog out, bitch, and I'll give you a quarter. So Meg's talking about, well, I compromise for you too. I compromise with the cleaning products. Derek says the toxic-free cleaning products. Bitch, I'm helping you out. The cleaning products that will not leave poisonous hazards around the house and poisonous chemicals around the house. You're compromising me on that? Girl, just sad. Meg is sad. Meg gets defensive. She's always talking about how she feels ambushed. I feel ambushed for what? Because he politely, and what I like about Derek is he communicates very clearly too, but calmly and clearly. And also what I do like about him, some women nowadays may feel like this is a slight because when he's communicating to her and she tries to cut him off, he's like, I'm going to finish, or I need to finish. Let me finish my thought. I'll get to it if you let me finish you better respect me. He might as well have said that, RESPCT, you better respect me. Shout out to Kaya. And guess what Meg does? Shut the fuck up. Sometimes you gotta snatch a bitch. Sometimes you have to snatch a bitch. How about that? I think that's what it is. But she definitely did shut the fuck up. So Chad and Belinda go on this archery date. Very cute, very fun, very romantic, according to Chad. So now we are seeing the couples meet with Pastor Cal. Pastor Cal meets with Meg and Derek first. They talk about the whole dog fiasco. Now, initially, they try to give the impression that they're good. We're good. Things are going well. We're good. No, we're not. No, you're lying. And you're wasting our time. Let's get to the root of the tutor. I'm the type of person, I like to prepare. And this could be an appointment with my therapist or my psychologist, or this could be a formal meeting with my department head or whomever. What are we talking about? What's the agenda? What's on the list of things to discuss? And with them, they like to just give the impression that everything's good, all is well. So Pastor Kyle had to break the ice and say, so what's going on with the dog? What's going on with Zoe? So they talk about communication and communication styles. And he points out that in situations like this, right, you need to over communicate. Silence is a form of communication, but it may not be the healthiest form because you have someone who's trying to talk it out and you're shutting down. Cal calls out the bumps in the road from Panama, and they just get into it. So now we get into aloof. Meg describes Derek as aloof, which is so insulting. How dare you tell me I have no feelings, bitch? So they immediately stop holding hands. They demonstrate that they're not feeling each other at this moment. This critique is too harsh. So they're stopping physically intimate in this scene. Cal calls it out. He points out how when we communicate and the way that we communicate, it's essential for us moving on. And it's about also holding hands and being physically intimate. That helps with just squashing any bumps along the road. Derek gives an apology initially, but his apology initially was not sincere. It was kind of sarcastic, but he does apologize to her again. And I thought the second one was definitely sincere, but Meg was not quick to accept his apology. And Pastor Cal had to call her out. Look, he's trying. He did a good job there. That was genuine. She's like, oh, that's genuine. So she gave me the impression that she is trying to appear to Pastor Cal that she is trying and she's going to put in her efforts in this marriage. But Meg, had Pastor Cal not been there, they still would have been on that couch looking the distance. So we get to Britt and Will. Pastor Cal meets with Britt and Will. They immediately get to it. They talk about how they had ups and downs. And they said, oh, tell me about the ups. And they can't say shit about the ups. But it's weird because I don't want to say they have only had downs. I just think sometimes when you're in a down viral moment with your partner, you only fixate on that, right? And you don't even remember the ups. But you can't say there hasn't been any ups, is my point. Anyway, so they move on, and Britt is saying how she is someone who's very expressive, and her feelings show on her face, on her sleeve, everywhere. But Will doesn't have that same impression as well. Like, he doesn't showcase himself that way. But she wants to feel like you care about what I care about. So they talk about the whole intimacy gate. What was the result of that? It just kind of resulted to Britt saying how intimacy is not her thing. Pastor Kyle points out that it has to be now. You better get that shit right. It has to be now. And here's the thing. I think if you are ready for marriage and you sign up for this process, you should have done the inner work necessary to not necessarily squash all the demons inside of you or immediately be 100% healed. I think we all are still works in progress, but I think there should be some recognition here and some active work done to heal whatever inner child wound you still have. And I feel like with Brittany, because she has a house and a career and she's doing well for herself, she just thought, and she said it herself, she just thought, well, now I'm ready to get married. And it's like, that's not necessarily what that means, right? You could be renting and still want to get married and ready to get married. And that could be because you have done the inner work. You have gone to therapy. You have established boundaries for yourself. You have journaled your feelings and learned how to effectively communicate in many different ways. That's doing the work. You getting a house and becoming a homeowner and having a great career, that doesn't mean you did the work and now you're ready to become a wife. What are we talking about? We jump into Rhonda and Pat. They meet with Dr. Pia. Dr. Pia's in the house. Rhonda gets defensive when making... So, child, before Dr. Pia arrives, immediately Rhonda is on Pat again. Again! This nigga can't do shit right for her in her eyes. So she was making a suggestion about some meetup activity regarding mountain biking and how she knows somebody that could set this up type of thing. And Pat is involving himself in the conversation by sharing, oh, he also knows someone too, and he could also help bring this into fruition. She gets annoyed. She's like, I know someone too. I have the suggestion. I know someone. She could be the only one with an idea and with the execution for the idea. Pat, Rhonda, please get it. Lisa, so as old as she is childish as hell. She is childish as hell. So Dr. Pia arrives and they start talking about it, right? Pat says he wants to have a safe space with her. I want to feel safe with you, right? I want to feel like I could express myself and you not get all boisterous on me. Rhonda immediately gets offensive. She immediately gets offensive and she feels hurt because, and I wrote down, oh, this bitch is crazy. I wrote down more, oh, this bitch is crazy. And she's crazy because on one end, she wants him to be expressive. And then when he expresses himself, she gets defensive. What do you want from me? What more do you want from me? What do you want from me? She talks about how in previous relationships, men would love her boisterous energy, but then they would hate it at the same time. So she feels like there's an inner wound there. There's a child wound there that makes her come across still hurt and yearning for attention and acceptance, especially. So, and I can understand how that's frustrating, right? You have Pat talking about how he loves her energy and she is boisterous. She has a great personality. And then you say, well, hold on, you're doing too much right now, right? And then you say, but he's not wrong though. That's just my point. He's not wrong though. There's a way to harness that same energy and still shut the fuck up and listen to me at times. Inquire about me. She talks about how he doesn't inquire about her. You don't actually ask questions about me. Pat has to go on and on rants about his life and his stories and all these things, but she doesn't show inquiry. She just listens and she will just eat her food, but she doesn't show as interest as she wants for him to show towards her. So she gets in her feelings. So Dr. Pia leaves, and then she leaves, and Rhonda leaves too, talking about she's going to go walk the dog. It's 10 p.m. The dogs are tired. Anyway, let's jump into episode 7 titled, This Is Not a Game. Meg and Derek, they walk Zoe together. We see the episode starts off with them walking her dog. Well, now their dog, I guess. But they're finally walking the dog together, which that was a good compromise. Britt and Will. Britt is cooking dinner for Will. I wrote down, she still watches soap operas. That's crazy. I didn't know soap operas was still a thing. I know it was still around, but I didn't know people still watch it, especially at her young ass age, 29. Will, again, I wrote down he's even keel, but he likes the food. He enjoys the food. We learned that Will, he leaves for work 3 to 4 days out of the week. And that's something that was of normalcy for him growing up because his father would do the same thing. Look, I understand we have different types of jobs out here, and some jobs call for you to leave however many days throughout the week, or even throughout the month. I don't know if I like that, but we'll see. Are you leaving for 3 or 4 days to be with your other woman? What's going on? We jump into Pat and Rhonda. Pat and Rhonda, they seem to be at a better place. She recognizes that she does want a safe place for him, and what she needs are gentle reminders and patience. Chad, Belinda, and Jalen and Josh, they get together for a crawfish eating. Chad is someone who loves to cook and cater to his people, and he's a great chef. He already told Belinda that he loves her. Belinda did not say that in return, though. She doesn't want to feel coerced to say it just because he said it to her first. She feels the love is brewing for her, though, towards him. Jalen discusses the post-nup conversation with Belinda. Let's get into that. Jalen talks about how she doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. She understands how her mom experienced being a stay-at-home mom, and she doesn't want to do that, and she doesn't really care about the post-nup. But Belinda made a point to say, well, I think you should consider that because there may be a season when you are staying at home and you want to be covered just in case things things don't work out between y'all. You want to have that coverage and protection. They don't want to even talk about, of course, they don't want to imagine that Jalen and Josh get a divorce, but I think it's a fair conversation to be had. We see Meg's home. We jump into Meg. We see Meg's home, her big ass house. I don't know if her job is necessarily the reason behind her being able to afford this big house. I think she just comes from money. That's it. But the way Derek reacted to her home, you would think it's a nice house, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like, dang, that was the reaction Brittany wanted. That was the reaction Brittany wanted. Derek over here talking about, wow, this is nice. Pat is at Rhonda's house, and this bitch is ordering him around to help her garden. Just order. And he's following along. He says he likes to be a helper. The thing with Pat is I think sometimes he lacks the confidence and the manhood of it all to be like, bitch, I'm sending this one out. Or I could help, but I think sometimes with him and Rhonda and her personality, it seems like he could easily become her doormat. And that's my concern, because we learned that with Pat, he was married for 30 years and he was unhappy. I don't know if he was unhappy for the whole 30 years, but he was unhappy for a majority of them, he said. And eventually he left that marriage. I could see Pat finding himself again in a marriage in which he is unhappy, but he doesn't have the courage to leave. We jump into Jalen and Josh. They meet with Dr. Pia. Dr. Pia plays this game with him, which I thought was pretty creative. I like to see it. So they stand back to back at the center and they move a couple of steps forward to determine whether they disagree or they're neutral about different statements that she says. We learned that Jalen is no contact with her exes, but Josh, he is in contact with his exes as far as social media. They check in on each other and see how they're doing. And Jalen immediately had a screw face on, but Josh immediately said, I'll begin to cease contact. That ain't no problem. We learned that Josh will no longer pursue the whole post-nup situation because of Jalen's reaction in this moment. She's like, I don't really care about money. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I want to go forward with my own business pursuits. And I guess the way that she expressed that was so comforting enough for Josh that he, right in that moment, immediately said, post-nup is off the table. No longer will we have this writing between us or whatever. But Dr. Pia said, hold on now. I know you saying this now, but how is your business partner going to feel about this? Because you said to Jalen that your business partner is the reason why you were bringing this conversation up. And he signed this post-nup with his wife, and that the expectation is for you to do the same. So how all of a sudden he's going to say, no, I'm not doing it anymore? How is his business going to look? I feel like Josh was talking a little too quickly, a little too soon, and it might bite him in the ass. And I really don't feel like, why is this such a big deal? How about Jalen just says, let me have my attorney look at this and confirm if this post-nup is in alignment with some of my interests and what I want for, God forbid we get a divorce, right? But this whole Gary talk around post-nup, what? Bring the lawyer in. Chad leaves Belinda a sweet note. Jalen goes over the house and she has a moment with her mom saying how she was worried about her mom prior to her getting married and just wanted her heart to be, she wanted the desires of her heart to be fulfilled. So she was emotional to see that note and was really happy for her mom. And that was a sweet moment. Derek will not compromise on having a big family. He wants to have 3 children. He's 38 and he wants to get started yesterday. He wanted to get started last week. But he's having trouble understanding if Meg truly wants the same thing. Because when he did bring it up to her back in Panama, she was like, 3 to 4? I don't know. Maybe I could push out 1. And I feel like Derek is understandably at this pace in his life where he just wants to finally settle down. He's been traveling a lot. He's been living the solo life. And now he wants to settle down and have a big family. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. We jump into Britt and Will. They're FaceTiming. Britt is feeling this man. She's talking about, oh, man, you so fine. Did you get the haircut? Oh, you look so good. She's hyping this man up, and he's sitting there all, oh, I don't know what to say to that. Get your autistic ass some meds. Shit. So we get to Meg. We see her workplace. They work at a U-Haul. I don't know what type of environment. What is this garage outlet establishment that we're walking in here? What is this? But that's nice. The way that it's decorated, it looks pretty cool. She didn't think commercial real estate would have been this tasking job that it is, but it is. And in this moment here, Derek brings up the topic of family planning as well. And immediately she's feeling blindsided, right? She's feeling ambushed. I'm blindsided. What makes you want to talk to me about it now? Oh, just because your friend brings it up? He's like, no. Me and my friend was talking about it, but I also want to get some clarification about this topic. And again, the way that she talks about children, she's like, oh, well, I froze my eggs. Of course I want kids. That ain't no of course. That just, nowadays, that's a trendy thing to do. Shit, that's a trend. I'm going to go freeze my eggs, right? And I'm going to talk about it on social media. That's a trendy thing that people do nowadays. So you freezing your eggs does not tell me that you really want kids. It just tells me that you did what a lot of people are doing right now. And that's saying that they froze their eggs and actually getting that done. That doesn't tell me that you are desiring and wanting kids. And I think the reason why Meg feels so defensive about it is because I don't think she wants kids. Hello? I don't think she wants any kids. Not now and not ever. I think there's a mother wound there. I think her relationship with her mom seems to have been, or seems to just throughout the years have been strained. She feels this tightness around her mom. Can't really feel open and vulnerable with her. I remember during her wedding, she was crying with the girls and her mom was like, what are you doing crying? Rather than comforting her daughter on this big day, she's talking about what? So we get the men and women, they gather respectively. Britt said that she would not have been dedicated if we were just dating. And that says a lot as to why she was only in relationships that lasted 3 months. Meg is private about her challenges with Derek. She doesn't say much. She doesn't contribute to the conversation. She's just sitting there with a stank, long horse face. Everyone returns to their respective homes. Chad returns to his home with Belinda, and he walks in dancing. You could tell, I wrote down, is he lit? The answer is yes, Maxine. He is lit. You could tell Belinda was clearly doing it. We're dancing right now. So he grabs her or asks her for a dance, and they dance. And he is telling her, I love you. I love you. You beautiful. You're the best. You could tell he's drunk. You could tell he's a little lit. And his breath probably smelled like whiskey. But finally, Belinda does say it back. But I wonder if she said it back out of pressure, though. I did write that down. She say it back out of pressure. Hopefully she really meant it. So Meg tells us that she'd rather keep her business in-house. She's not the type to share her feelings or her challenges with her man outside of the house. And she calls him into their bedroom to talk privately. They bring up the family planning topic because that was still an issue brewing. They never got over it from the previous scene. She says she feels gaslit and that she feels like he's making her out to be this woman who doesn't want kids. No, bitch, you don't want kids, because if this is how you react, you don't. Wrote down possible trigger. And that's about it, y'all. That's the end of this episode review. Episodes 5, 6, and 7 of Married at First Sight, season 19. Let me know your thoughts about the episode, about this season so far. I am enjoying it. I am loving it. Peacock is doing its thing. If I could give it 10 stars on the app, I would, right? With Netflix, you could thumbs up twice, right? And the twice thumbs up means love it. Is there a way to do that on Peacock? I'm gonna see if I can do that. But I really am enjoying it. I hope you guys are as well. Let me know what you think. Make sure you are subscribed, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.